Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lize. I'm a multidisciplinary artist based in London, and in today's video I'll be talking about how I was able to buy my property as a solopreneur. And so purchasing a property as a solo buyer is difficult, but when you're an entrepreneur it can even be more challenging because the banks want you to go to every length to prove and to show that you can afford it. But it definitely can be done. So I'll be sharing all of my tips to get you ready. So one of the first things I'll say is you should find a good mortgage broker who understands, the situations for entrepreneurs. I work with a brilliant mortgage broker called Emma. I'll leave her details down in the description. If you do use her and use my name as your referral code, you're going to get a discount on her services. So definitely check that out. But anyway, a good mortgage broker will be able to help you in this situation because they understand, how to deal with entrepreneurs. So in the UK, if you work a 9 to 5, usually they want to see the last 3 months pay slip. But for entrepreneurs, it's not particularly about your pay slip. They want to see the average of your last two annual tax years. So yeah, so that's what they use. And so I'm sorry again, guys. My microphone cut off here again, and I just didn't realize it. I'm just realizing it now while I'm editing this video. So basically, what I was trying to say is some banks look at the last 2 years, tax years, while some other banks actually use only 1 year, so they look at the last year. And this can be quite helpful because obviously I would like to think that the more your business grows, the more money it starts to make. And so that means if you made more money in the year, in the last year, which was my case, the bank is able to, like, once they multiply that times four, you'll be able to get more loan than if they just did the average of the 2 years. And so it's good to have a mortgage broker who knows this and has access to banks who can sort of, have different sort of criterias, because someone else I had inquired with actually didn't pose this as an option to me. And so yeah, but anyway, I ended up just going with a bank that was giving me lesser money because I decided not to like go for a massive mortgage, just so that the repayments can be more affordable for me. So one of the most important things before all of this anyway is to make sure your company is registered. The banks will definitely ask you how long you've been in business. Loaning money to entrepreneurs is a big risk to them, so they definitely want to make sure, like, they're investing well. And so even if you're not a limited company yet, or you don't want to be that, make sure you're registered for your self-assessment, because even if you're not, like, making enough money to make a profit yet, that's still fine. If you don't make a profit to pay tax, you wouldn't have to pay tax. So just go ahead and register, because myself, before I moved into being a limited company, I was registered as a sole trader, and the years I wasn't making money at the very start in 2016, I never had to pay tax. So don't worry about that. Just make sure you're registered, because you want to have that track record, because in the future it's going to come in handy for you. Okay, so the third thing I'll say is you definitely want to hire an accountant as soon as you're able to. And so in my case, I didn't hire an accountant when I was a sole trader because I could do like my bookkeeping and all of that myself. But as soon as I moved into like a limited structure, there are just so many other things you need to like do, keep track of: bookkeeping, VAT, filing your returns different times of the year. If it's just a lot, so I'm like, I rather leave it up to like the professionals, someone who has an expertise in that field, to just handle all of that, and I can focus on my business. And apart from even that, because when it comes to like getting your account and your books ready for, like, purchasing a property, they want to see this proof, like you're earning an income, you're paying yourself, everything is legitimate. And having an accountant who can prepare all of those documents for you comes in very handy. So in my case as well, I let my accountant know, like, almost like a year plus before I started looking for properties, to know that, oh, this is my goal for the next tax year. I want to like purchase a property. How do we get myself ready for that? And because of that, we had like our meeting. We were able to look at my books, do the calculations. He was able to let me know, okay, if you want to go for this budget, this is the amount of money you need to be able to earn in this tax year. So when they do the calculation of your last two tax years, it can come to an average that will enable them to like give you the amount of loan, and also depending on your deposit. So that comes in handy. Also in the UK, our tax year is from like March to the 5th of April, and because of my timeline of when I wanted to purchase my property, I literally needed to start looking for properties in April. And so as soon as 5th of April was done, my accountant started working, did my bookkeeping, rounded up my accounts, not only filed for my business, but also filed for my personal tax returns as well. So that way I have all of those documents ready to show, the banks and my solicitor that I'm good for the money and I'm good for this investment. So yeah, that cannot be overstated. You have to get someone to, if you're not able to do it yourself, then you definitely want to get someone who can get all of that ready for you. The fourth thing I would like to say is you need to have a clean bank account. If you're a sole trader and you don't have an official business account, you're using your own personal account, just have two separate accounts. Don't be mixing business and personal stuff. It just becomes all murky and unclear, because the solicitor will be going through every single transaction, so trace stuff and make sure the money you say you have is there and it's legit and is reliable. So just have two separate accounts, even if they're your personal names, one for your business, one's for your personal expenditures. And for me, it's a limited, so I have to have a business account anyway, so that was a part. And even when it comes to your own personal money and how you're saving for your deposit, what I'll also suggest is that you don't sort of move money from this account to this account and then it goes into your savings account, because that's just giving the solicitor more things to check and giving you more things to like submit and more explanations to do as well, because they're going to trace, okay, money came from here and went into the savings account. Money came from here. You can see how that's just direct. Then money came from here, you paid yourself, then you move the money into that personal account, then you move the money into that savings account, then you move the money into your deposit. It's just long. So yeah, make it as straightforward and as easy as possible for yourself. I say this because my savings account was linked to a current account, and so I couldn't just put money directly into my savings account. What I was doing is I'll transfer the money into that current account is linked to, and then into the savings that is attached to. And so she was like, you say you put this money in this savings account, but where is it? I don't see how it comes through. Oh no, because the amount of money I was putting in that account was way more than I was gonna save, because I was using my daily expenditures from that account. So by the time I moved the amount I wanted to save into the savings account, it was a bit less, and she was like, where is the other money? And so I had to explain that. In my case, it wasn't that difficult because I just had to explain it and then show her the accounts, but just avoid all of that necessary further checks and just keep everything clear and separate. And so the last thing you definitely want to have, and which is also important, is your deposit. Yeah, so you definitely want to have the right amount of deposit. So as an entrepreneur, the banks would definitely want to see you have a big stake in it, and so they usually would like to see about 20%. And so I think the first thing for you is to sort of figure out what your max budget is, what you can actually afford, depending on how well your company is doing and how much you're earning. And this is why you need a good accountant to help you figure that out, as well as a mortgage broker would help you to get like the different rates and the different banks who are willing to lend you different amounts of money. And so once you sort of have worked out how much you can pay, so like, how much are you earning, what are your monthly expenses, what can you comfortably pay back in mortgage, you can do that rough calculations with your accountants to enable you to come to a figure. And then that way, let's say you decide you want to buy a property which is 200k, 20%, so that's, what's 20%? Is it 20k? I don't know. Let me check. What's was 20%. 40K. Okay, my math wasn't maxing too much. So yeah, so 20% of 200,000. So if let's say the property is £200,000, 20% of it is 40K. So now you know, okay, I need to save 40K in order to purchase that property. So it's always good to know what your budget is, what your max budget to spend on your property is, and sort of walk back a bit to understand how much you need to save and how long you need to save that. And so yeah, so that's what I did in my own case, and that worked out for me, so I hope it works out for you as well. And if you would like to know how I was able to save £100,000 to purchase my property and all the other expenses that comes wrapped in that, check out this video. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, where I break down everything that enabled me to save that amount of money. So those are the things I needed to get in order to get, ready for my property buying journey. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you. This is the last episode on my property buying series. This is episode 10. I have 9 other videos. If you haven't watched them yet, make sure you check out my playlist and see how I break down right from, starting my researching all the way to viewings, legal processes, moving out day, costs, breaks down, everything. Make sure you check that out. I go through lots of different information, nitty-gritty details that I don't tend to see in other videos, and that's why I was able to divide it into 10 videos, because I cover a lot, which I hope will help people who sort of don't even know different aspects of this whole journey, so that way you're ready. Anyway, I'll be doing a question and answer video next week, so if you do have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If there are questions I can just answer, I'll answer them, but if there are questions that need like a thorough answer, I'll do it in the question and answer video next week. If I don't get questions, then there'll be no video. So if you do have questions, leave them down below. Now you may be wondering, what next? So what next is exciting for me. I had a consultation with a financial advisor a couple of weeks ago to start thinking about what I want to do next, and definitely there's more coming from me. I'll be sharing my whole journey to financial freedom on this channel. I'll be sharing my creative entrepreneurial journey as well, as a photographer specializing in boudoir photography, as an author wanting to write more books. So definitely click the notification bell to get notified. Subscribe to my channel. If there's anyone who you think would get insights and information from my videos, share my videos with them as well. But until next time, remember, you don't have to be a struggling artist. Bye.